Well, hello, 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 everyone. Good evening and welcome to Under Construction. I am your host for this evening. I am Pastor Steve, and welcome into our show. Hope everybody's had a great day, and it's been a beautiful day. Weather-wise, we've had some great weather. We're not in our northern states, so we're not getting snow and all that good stuff yet. I know there's a lot of you people from the north, so am I. But I am really glad to be away from that snow. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a problem with cold weather. As a matter of fact, I love cold weather, but I don't deal well with the snow and the ice. And so, a beautiful day here in the North Carolinas. And so, hey, before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to ALH Broadcasting for hosting us tonight. So, a big shout out to them for making this possible for us tonight. So, again, hope everybody's had a great day. We're going to have a nice show tonight. We've got some good communication for you. And hey, I was thinking about it earlier too. Man, we are in December. Can you believe that? We are getting ready to go into a new year here just shortly. Time has flied. Now I understand what the grown folks would say years ago when they would say time is full of swift transition. I get it now because time is just moving so fast. It seemed like it was just 3 or 4 months ago that we entered into 2023. And here we are, man, getting ready to go into 2024. But you know what? I have expectations. So, I'm good. You have to go into it with expectations, knowing that, it's going to be a great year. I'm not making any kind of promises that I can't keep. I just want to be in the will of God. How about you? You just want to be in the will of God? That's me. And I know He has great plans for me. That's what Jeremiah tells me, that He has great thoughts and plans for me. So I hold on to those promises, man, and I'm expecting just a great harvest for this upcoming year. And I pray that over you and your family as well. So as we get prepared to go into our show tonight, I was having a conversation with a young man that I'm going to introduce you to here shortly. And we were just kind of talking haphazardly as men do about certain things and about how to better understand one another and how to better communicate and talk and jive and all that good stuff like that. So that's how the conversation kind of came about of what we're going to be discussing tonight. And so again, just a great conversation to have. I think all of us can do better in our line of communication and all that good stuff like that, no matter who we are. So don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to get our guest in here in just a moment, and we're going to have a quick conversation tonight. I think it's going to be good. So if you get an opportunity, bring somebody in tonight. So good evening to all of our Facebook users that are joining us. I see Pastor Valerie is there, the love of my life. Y'all know that goes without saying. So welcome tonight, darling. Thank you for supporting as you always do. And so we're going to get started on tonight. So, Alan, can you bring our guest in, please? I'm excited to have this guest with us tonight. And hopefully we have not lost him. You know how technology is. So we'll give him a chance to come in. I haven't seen him show up yet. So we're going to see how technology is handling. But we're going to continue to move forward anyway. Again, just want to welcome everybody to our show tonight. And what we're going to be talking about tonight, guys, and just came up in my spirit to share a little bit about is effective communication. There he is. Look at that young fellow right
Hey, how
there.
you doing? Here I
Good evening.
am.
Good evening. Then
Good
my
evening.
son,
Good
my son.
evening.
Yeah, so he is going to join me tonight. We're going to have a little father-son discussion, man. So, that is my son in whom I am well pleased. God is doing great
Thank you.
things. Yeah, God is doing great things in his life, and so I guess I can take a little credit for that. I mean,
We give you some credit. Yeah, you own a little credit for it.
thank you. A little credit. Always try to set a good example. And, those are the things we're going to be talking about a little bit as we have him join us tonight. So we're talking about it. Him and I was having this discussion the other day, and I told him, I said, you know what? Pause. Let's hold up. Let's do this at another time. I think this would be worthy of just, communicating on under construction, which is what that is all about. Under construction is really about all. It means what it says. We are all under construction. We can all continue to grow daily to become better people than who we are today. I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think it was Saturday possibly, about, and this was relationship wise, so it has nothing to do with the show really, but we were talking about marriage some kind of way. And, a lot of people said they don't. Well, what happens is a lot of time in relationships, whether it's marriage or whatever, covenant, any kind, we don't give people the opportunity to grow and to change. And one thing about change is inevitable. People are going to change. People are going to grow. And so we have to figure out a way to grow together instead of growing apart. And so that's a whole nother discussion. I think I'll have Pastor Valerie
That
on with
is.
and we'll talk about that. But Stephen,
that's another good discussion to have, though.
absolutely. Thank you so much, so much, so much. So I hope you had a great day, sir, and that you're relaxed and that you are ready to handle this conversation. I know that you are.
I am, yeah. And first of all, I just want to say thank you. I'm so. It's how cool is this to be on the podcast with my dad and to share these kind of conversations, man. So I'm you could tell I'm excited. I'm smiling and I'm happy. And I'm proud of you also just for having this platform uh, for us to come and share and have these conversations as men because it's needed in a
Absolutely.
safe space, no
Right,
judgment. You can
right,
relax and
right.
just be yourself and have good conversations. So yeah, I
Cool.
appreciate this and thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, and welcome, Sis Victoria. It's always good to have you. And the good pastor was on, Pastor Kevin Little, and we are celebrating his birthday today. So, woo-hoo, shout out to Pastor
Happy
Kevin
birthday.
for his birthday. And then there is one of my favorite people down there in the warm Florida area, Miss Christina with the beautiful Layla. Welcome, Christina. Thank you for joining tonight. And so, man, we're getting ready to get started. So buckle up, guys. This is going to be really good. So one of the things that Steve and I was talking about the other day is how to be better in our communication. How do we effectively communicate? And so that's what we're going to talk about. And when I look at communication, one of the things that I think about, guys, is I think about this. Good leadership is it's not about power. So check this out. Good leadership is not about power. It is the ability to guide others without force into a direction that leaves them feeling empowered and accomplished. Wow, that was good. Did y'all catch that? I'm going to repeat that. So, good leadership is not about power, it's about the ability to guide others without force into a direction that leaves them feeling empowered and accomplished. So, as we talk about good communication, man, that's on so many levels. I mean, we talking about in the marketplace, good communication. We talk about in the home. We talking about wherever in Walmart. It don't matter because as people of God, our light should always be shining anyway. So no matter who we come in contact with, man, we have to sometimes set the tone for proper communication. I don't care if you're talking to a vendor on the phone. I don't care if you're dealing with someone that you owe. You're on the phone with them. It doesn't matter. Proper communication, man, and effective communication can resolve a lot of issues. We can resolve a lot of tension, Stephen, if we just communicate with each other properly. And again, there's so many levels of it. And as I look at you, and we'll talk about this in a moment, you're my son. You're a grown man now. Praise God. But I recall, in your teenage days or your earlier days, our communication still had to be effective. And even though in those times we could not communicate in the way we do now, but we still had to have great communication. Welcome, Ms. Walker. Thank you, Brenda, for joining in on us tonight. And so I think about the scripture that says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. But when I became a man or a woman, I had to put away that childish speech and I had to learn how to communicate on a whole nother level. And so here I have my son here, and we are great communicators. Him and I have and I have two other wonderful children, young ladies, two daughters that are just awesome. And my motto with them has always been open communication. There's always been open communication. I've always given them the ability to come to me and talk to me about anything. Now, that doesn't mean to say that sometimes I'm shocked by some of the conversations or some of them is a little bit edgy, but I always keep it open so that they feel comfortable coming to me with the dialogue, because who else should they go to? If they don't come to me, they're going to go to the world, they're going to go somewhere else. So why not have them come to me, their father, who can give them positive information? So that's what I've always tried to do, is give them positive, listen, not make decisions for them, especially in their adulthood. Now, when they were younger, yeah, I had to make the decision, and I stood firm on my decision, but I always made them aware of why I made those decisions. I didn't just say, hey, boy, go do it because I say so. That's poor leadership. That's not the way to be an effective communicator. So I always tried to say, hey, this is how I expect you to handle this or do this, and this is the reason why. And so they always gave them a reason why until they became adults. Once they became adults, even now, I tell them this, and they know this. He's right here in front of me. I'm still the voice in his life. I am still the voice in his life. So and they know the respect that I expect of that. And that means, you can come to me, we can talk, and I expect you to listen to what I have to say. Now, it can go in one ear and go out the other, but you'll have to respect. But the respect goes both ways. And so many times, especially with parents, we expect, our authority to be the strong, the dominant, but we never give that back. We never give that respect back to the children or our children or whomever, to have them communicate as well too. So, Stephen, let's talk a little bit about that. So, how would you describe your youth coming up with me and having conversations with me, and just even then and leading up to now? How would you describe that?
I mean, it definitely has evolved from being a youth to now.
Sure.
In my younger years, I was still learning how to communicate with you. I might not want to tell you certain things because I maybe tried to hide it or tried to, get over on certain things. So I was learning how the best way to come and approach you on certain things. Because that's what communication, to me, I mean, that's what communication is, learning how to approach somebody with a conversation.
Sure.
You don't want to just come at you barking and come at you the wrong way, because you're not going to listen. It's not going to be, like you said earlier, effective communication.
Right.
So as a youth, we would talk about certain things, but I would leave certain things out. I guess I wasn't, comfortable.
Sure.
But now as we got older, I don't think there's anything that me and you can't talk about, because over the years, you've showed me it's safe to come to you with any kind of conversation.
Right. That's good, man. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you set that example. You showed me that you just didn't tell me, Steve, come talk to me whenever you need anything. I mean, you showed me that. So it was easy for me to get to that point where I could come to you on any level with any kind of, conversation that I was dealing with, whether it be something at work, something in my personal life, something dealing with my kids or grandkids, with any situation. Now I can come to you with no doubt, knowing that I'm gonna get the best advice and best information possible.
Yeah. And you said something that I love. You said you didn't come to me barking, because, again, we're talking about levels of communication, because as a young person, you knew that wasn't going to fly anyway. The barking and coming at me the wrong way, that wasn't going to fly anyway. But now as an adult, you still know how to humble and come to me effectively in the right tone. But at the same time, like I said, it's got to be, it's got to be a give and take. So I've got to be, a good, to be an effective communicator, you have to be an effective listener. Oh man, that was a powerful statement right there. In order to be an effective communicator, you must be an effective listener. You must be able to listen, because a lot of times communication is just that. Sometimes people just need a listening ear, so they already have the answers. I've learned that over the years, a lot of times people already have the answers. They already know what they want to do and what the resolve is. They need confirmation. So if we're constantly talking and not listening, then we do them a disservice in being able to help resolve the tension about what they're coming to us about. Because even as adults now, and even in the young adult years with you and my daughters, I never made decisions for you. I always give you the tools to make a good decision. Always gave you the tools and to make a good decision. And Elder Hines, you bring up a great question. How do we provide that safe place? So we do that over time. We do that with being able to be comfortable enough in the environment with this particular person to be able to effectively come. And so it has to be, like Stephen said earlier, it has to be a judgment-free zone. It has to be something that if you come to me, man, I'm not shocked and like, oh man, that was stupid. That was crazy. Why would you do so? No, you have to listen and say, you know what? Hey, man, yeah, that was pretty, that was a pretty far out situation or circumstances, but let's see how we can resolve this. Once that person gets comfortable with that, then I think then we know how to deal with that.
And also, I think it's trust as well. When you're creating a safe space,
right?
I have to be able to trust you to come to you with certain things, because I might not want everybody to know, or I might not, want it to be put out, for the public.
Absolutely.
So, when you're creating that safe space, I have to trust you enough to know that I can come to you with the most bizarre or the most intimate problem, and I know that it'll stay between me and you. And I have that with me and you. I know I can come to you with my most intimate secrets of what's going on in my life, because I know you set that example. You showed me that if I tell you something, it'll stay between me and you. So
yeah, you're not going to hear it from somewhere else. Yeah, you're
exactly.
not going to hear
I'll never hear it from somewhere else, because I know that's between me and you. So that's enough. I think trust is a big part of creating a safe space.
That's good. So I think that answers the question for Elder Hines. And then I saw Pastor Kelvin said, how do we, Pastor Kelvin, I'm trying to find that question you had and looking for it again, but it was about how do we resolve the challenges? How do we resolve the challenges, if I remember correctly? And I think, again, we resolve the challenges by not being so judgmental and not being so overwhelmed by what people are dealing with now, and sometimes we have to take a step back and look at where it's coming from and how it's coming, and then know the person that it's coming from. I mean, I know my son. Obviously, I've known my son all of his life, so I know his proclivities. I know his mindset. Steve has always been a very humble, easygoing guy. Everybody has buttons, and so I know that. What I think my challenge with Stephen as a teenager, young guy growing up, is to make him really understand that he was a leader. He was not a follower, and it was okay to be different. I wanted him to know, hey, man, it is okay to be different. Set your own tone. People will follow you. Now, how are you leading people? What kind of example are you setting, not only for other people, but even for your sisters and other nieces and nephews? I have a large family. There's a ton of nieces and nephews that's my son's age. And I'm always reminding him, you can set the example for them. You can set the tone for them, and they will follow you, or you will be a follower. Now, what are you following, though? What kind of example are you following? And then this is key, guys. I've always taught my children this. Hey, do not mess up my name. How many times have you heard that, Stephen?
I've heard it quite a few times.
Absolutely.
Quite a few times.
And what does that mean to you when I say that? And in the past, in years, and even now, what does that say to you? What does that register to you?
That means just be conscious of the decisions I make and the things that I do, because ultimately it reflects you as a parent.
Absolutely.
And it reflects, it goes back to your name as well. We have almost the same name.
Right.
So just say if I was to go out and do something now, they was like, oh yeah, did you see Pastor Sim's son doing this or doing that? And of course that's I don't know if it'll look bad on you, but it's just, you don't want that coming back to you on your name. And on your reputation. Because when you build a reputation, it takes a long time to build it, but you can destroy it quickly. I mean, you can destroy it quickly.
Just like that one decision, right? One decision. Reputation is so important.
Can destroy the reputation that you've taken years to build.
I've built my empire.
I've always kept that. Exactly. So I've always kept that in mind. not because I was scared of you or what would you do to me, but just because I wanted to keep your name the way you wanted to keep your name and your reputation the way
And you
you
just said
wanted
something.
to.
Let me just cut in, because you just said something, a word that was so powerful, and I don't know if everybody caught that. Did you hear him? He said he wasn't fearful of me. He wasn't afraid of me, and even that, but he had a reverence of me. And that is so important, that as parents, as not only parents, but leaders, in the marketplace, in the church, wherever, that we set a tone that people they're not scared of us. We're not, again, it goes back to my statement earlier. Good leaders are effective communicators. We don't lead, we lead by our authority and not by our power. And so we don't lead by that. We have to lead. Welcome, 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 viewers from the church in Jamaica. So glad to have you on with us from Love Demonstration. Welcome in tonight, man. That is so awesome. But yeah, we have to lead with our authority. I'm a man of authority, but that doesn't mean I have to overexert my authority. I still have to lead with love and respect. I need to share this scripture with you real quick, guys. We're getting into it, and this is good, but I want to share this because we're talking about effective communication. We're talking about how do we lead our families? How do we lead our children? How do we lead? And it has to be through wisdom. I think it's done by wisdom. And so I was led to Proverbs today. I was led to Proverbs 4. And I'm going to read it out the NIV, Proverbs 4, beginning at verse 5. And I'm reading it, how do mothers develop this communication with their sons? Because some issues he may not want to talk about with a woman. That's a great question, Ms. Bernice. And the answer to that is hopefully there is a male figure in his life. If it's not his dad, it could be a pastor, it could be an uncle, but it could be someone that has that can have that male figure, presence in his life that he will respect. First of all, have to respect, and that he would feel comfortable talking to. And mothers, if that son don't have that, help them find that person. I grew up. My father passed away when I was very young in life, and so I had brothers that were older than me. I had uncles that were older than me. But my mother always surrounded herself with strong Christian people. And so even in the church I grew up in, there was always men that would approach me, wanted to know who I was, wanted to talk to me. And this is another great tool for women, especially when you have teenage children that are growing up. And my son can attest to this. I always put them in sports, because in sports, you're going to have, most coaches that are in sports now are going to be mentors. They're going to be mentors. Sports help to discipline us. Me, I was a basketball player, pretty good, I may add. But my mom, once I started playing organized sports at about 6th grade, and I became really good at it, and that's what I wanted. Man, my mother knew she had a grip on me. And so she's like, okay, in order to do this, this is what I require of you. Grades, conduct, all of these things like that. If you don't do that, you don't do this. Man, you could take anything away from me. Take my car keys, take my ball. Don't take that basketball. And so I had that grip on my son the same way. He came up playing football and doing some things. Man, when I found out about that, I'm like, okay, dude, if we don't keep this average, we don't do this, we don't do that, and then you don't do that. So I always found out ways and it wasn't by force. It was just common communication. This is what I expect. As we're talking about that, one of the other reasons, the other ways that I was really able to deal with Stephen and my girls is always because I always use reverse psychology on him. I always told him, I'm like, man, I'm so proud of you. Hey, I ain't even got to worry about you going off the deep end, because I know, man, you're too intelligent. You're going to make good decisions. I'm not even going to worry about that. And man, I put that thing in his spirit so that when he knew that he wanted to do something or had done something, the first thing he would think about is like, oh, no, man, I just disappointed my dad. So Stephen, talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to find this scripture. Talk a little bit about how I put that in you. And it was psychology. It was reverse psychology. I used to tell him all the time, man, listen, what I heard can't be you. That just can't be, because that don't sound like the son I know, the one that's intelligent, the one that makes good decisions. Talk about that a little bit.
All right. And one thing as a son, when you always want to make both of your parents proud, but man, When your dad tell you I'm proud of you, it hit different. It hits different when your
Yes, sir.
dad says, "Man, I'm proud of you. I knew you could do it," and just speak encouragement to you, it does something to you on the inside as a
That's good.
son.
Right.
So when you use reverse psychology on me, um, it made me feel good. It made me feel like I accomplished something. Man, I made my dad proud. I'm
Yeah.
doing it. That just it made me feel good inside. So when I was out making decisions, and I would think to myself, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. I don't want to disappoint him because I knew the pride that you spoke into me and into my life.
Yes, sir.
And I
Yes,
didn't
sir.
want to lose that. I didn't want to disappoint you. I didn't want the pride to go away. I wanted to keep that feeling. I wanted you to say it to me again.
Yes,
So I
sir.
didn't want to make decisions or go do things that I couldn't receive that from you.
Man, that's good. That is
I
so
couldn't
good.
get that blessing, man. Because
Right.
like I say, as a son, that's the biggest, man. Once you hear you made your dad proud, oh, it's like,
Yeah.
man, it's like the world to you.
Wow. That's awesome. So let's
So
pause
I mean,
right
I
there. I
kept
think,
I kept that with me.
yeah, yeah. And Brother Keith, man, good to see you on tonight. And going back to that one question, Miss Bernice, you were saying how do you handle your sons like that? I think again, the power of life and death is in our tongue, and whatever we can speak blessings or we can speak curses over our children in at any period, daughter, son. So as a young man, whether it's a single parent or not, we have to continue to speak positive influence into their life. Tell them what they will be. The Bible tells us that children are like arrows in a bow. We point them in the direction we want them to go in. And so I remember my mom was the best at it. I mean, my mom would just tell me, man, Steve, you're going to be this and you're going to be that and you're going to be, and I'm so proud of you. And she taught me these things. So she didn't just tell me what I was going to become. She gave me the tools to become. She taught me in her own way of how to do this. On one of my shows, I talked about this before, how my mom began at an early age talking to me about what was required of me. Oh man, that is good. What she required of me. And then she asked me, so what do you need from me as a parent? So we would have those kind of conversations. But she told me what she required of me. And it was integrity, it was character. She taught me the same thing about a good name. And she also taught me how to discipline myself, how to take care of myself. My mother taught me how to be clean and to have good hygiene. My mother taught me how to listen. I can iron. I at the best. I can iron, man. I can sew a little bit. I do wonderful household. I mean, I do all of those things because my mom instilled that into me, and so it became part of my regiment. And I did the same thing with my son. I taught him how to be a man. I taught him from an early age. I remember he can laugh about this now, but my mom did me the same way. That as boys, come on, anybody that got boys, you're gonna have stinky feet. Okay, come on, listen. When you 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, boys come up in there with them tennis shoes on. My mother used to put mine outside. She's like, boy, throw these things outside. And so I remember one time Stephen came in and he had on some new tennis shoes, but them things were cutting up. I'm sorry, I'm telling you a story. Them things were cutting up.
That's
So you know what
fine.
I did the same thing my mama do. I put them things on the outside. I'm like, whatever, rain, I don't care. But I taught him, how to take care of himself and to become disciplined in that area as well. So let me hit this scripture real quick because man, time is just moving really fast. So Proverbs 4 and beginning at Proverbs 4, I'm gonna start at verse 5. And we're talking about how to be effective in communication. So, and this is it. Here we go. Get wisdom. Proverbs say, get wisdom, and then listen at this, and then get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. Do not forsake wisdom. She will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it costs all you have, get understanding. So the only way I think that we can be effective in our communication, man, is there has to be wisdom. There has to be understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Stephen and I, as we talk now as men, he has an understanding of me that I am who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm not, and that's the one thing I've been consistent throughout his whole life and who I am. I've always tried to walk upright before him, not to let him see me out there doing things that I shouldn't be doing, drinking, smoking, cussing, fussing. He has never, my son has never saw me do these things. Okay, if I did them, he didn't see it. How about that? Because I wanted to make sure that I listen at this, and even Miss Bernie, I wanted to make sure that I protected my image for him so that I could lead him. And he's like, hey, what you talking about, Dad? You doing this, you doing this, you doing that. I never wanted him to be able to come to me and say that. And he never in his years, I ain't gonna tell him how old he is, but in all of his years, he's 40 or something, he has never
40-ish.
and say, Dad, you did ABC, blah, 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 blah. So Stephen, real quick, time is catching up on us again. You have children now. So based upon what you and I have communicated and how we have the relationship that we had and the communication that we have now, how is that now affecting you in the way that you communicate with your children?
Well, I had to learn how to communicate with my kids.
Right.
And they're two different people, so I had to have two different approaches when I had conversations with my kids. And I started off because first of all, as a parent, there's no handbook, so it's you learning on the fly.
Right.
So I had to learn the best effective way to communicate with my girls because I have two girls.
Right, and that's different from boys. It is.
It is. It's different because they're softer.
Yeah.
And their feelings get hurt easier and quicker. So I had to learn. I have a pretty heavy voice and I have a pretty stone turn. So I had to learn how to kind of
where you got that
down. From? I had to learn how to, change my tone and my words when I speak to them because they would hear me, but they wouldn't listen to me at first because they were.
Wow, that's so good. Say that again, man. Say that again.
They would hear me, but they wouldn't listen.
Okay, cool.
Because I was kind of barking at them, in their eyes because my tone and my voice. So I had to learn how to kind of soften it down and kind of use softer words when I speak to them.
Right.
And man, as soon as I did that, it's just like they understood. They understood everything I was saying. They adhered to everything I was saying. They didn't buck against what I was saying. They actually did what I asked them to do versus before when I was using the stricter tone, they just, it didn't work. It wasn't effective. So I had to learn them to know how to come to them. I had to learn them to know what works with them and what doesn't work as far as communication with them. And I think that's another key thing about communication. You got to know who you're talking to.
Absolutely. You got to know your audience, right?
You have to know your audience. Everybody, I approach everybody different. If I know you, just like with me and you, I know how I can come to you, and I know how not to come to you.
Sure.
So as leaders, you got to know the people you lead and how to speak to each one of them individually, because you can't speak to probably the same two the same way.
Well, you're preaching right now, boy. I'm going to pull a collar on you in just a minute.
Look,
that is so good.
I learned all this wisdom from you. You gave me a lot of this wisdom, so I'm just giving it back.
But listen, guys, I didn't pay him to say that. I just want you to know that he said that freely. So I want to give another quick, because as we lead, whether it's our family or whatever, the Bible tells us in Ephesians that we have to speak the truth in love. My mother taught me something years ago, man. My mom, bless her heart, I love this lady. But she always told me this, whether I was dealing with my children or whatever, she says, never leave anybody wounded. Mm-hmm. So when you have a conversation, you do it if you have to do it with authority, never leave them wounded. Come back and speak the truth in love. And so always bring some cure balm, some love and some affection to kind of coat it a little bit. And you said that even with dealing with your girls, you have to be softer. You're tough. And you and I both, I have a very deep voice. My daughter, India, man, let me tell you something. Growing up with Slim, we call her Slim. Growing up with Slim, she's the oldest. But even today, I kind of know that my tone of how I communicate with her, it affects her one way or the other. So even as a child, I never really had to put the rod on India. My voice tone always, it's like it would just cripple her. They said the lion is the toughest in the jungle. It is not because he's the fiercest and the baddest. It's because of his roar.
Exactly.
And so I knew I had, with my daughter, India, I knew that sometimes my tone was just like paralyze her. And I knew that I had to be a little bit more, like you said, sensitive in my communication with her, so that not to make her afraid of me, but to respect me. And I think that's what we're talking about as effective communicators. We have to learn to communicate so that people will respect us, not be afraid, but respect us. Here's another good nugget. It says true communication understand that leadership is not about them, but those that they are communicating to. So it's not about exalting yourself as much as it is about exalting the others that we are communicating with. So I've always, even now with my son, and I'll say this publicly to you, I'm very proud of you. You are just an awesome young man. Man, you are I mean, I could just say a lot about that, but you're respectable. You're respected. You carry yourself in such an awesome way, man. I learn from you. I listen to you in our conversations. I have to be open-minded. I can't just be so closed-minded and say, you know what, I'm the dad. You ain't got nothing to say to me. But I'm always listening. I'm always opening. And I want you to know I receive nuggets from you. And they are great nuggets. I hear you repeating the word of God. And that's what blesses me. You are in the word. And I'll say that to you. Stay in the word, man, because that's what's going to deliver. Having a father's voice is more important than quality. Absolutely, Muriel. Having a father's voice in your life is so important. It's the authority. It's the ability to connect. And I've saw that with you, Muriel, and your daughter, and your her father. I knew that, and most young women, they are really they gravitate to the dad. How do we handle that? How do fathers handle that when when your daughters gravitate for you? And sometimes mothers, it's the opposite. Some of the young men gravitate toward the mothers. But only thing I say to that sometimes is I remind mothers of one thing, and it's this: you cannot be mother and father. You cannot be. You are mother. It takes a male to raise a man, and to not to raise a man, but to be that father voice in their life. So I hear women say sometimes, well, I'm the mother and the father. No, you are doing a great job as being the mother. And sometimes all the weight is put up on that single mother. And kudos to those single mothers. I've seen them do it. I saw my mother do it as a single parent until she remarried. And you saw it as well, too. And so, go ahead, Stephen. Share anything else while I find a scripture.
Well, no, you were just saying, the things how you get nuggets from me and how you were proud of me, and you hear the word of God coming out of me. And that's because I've had a great example set before me.
Sure.
That's all I can say. If it wasn't for you setting the example and setting the standard, who knows, where I would be. But like you said, you stayed consistent with your lifestyle. I've watched you, I've learned from you. I was probably watching you when you didn't even know I was watching.
Right. And that's
and pick up on little things to add into my life, because I see how it works.
Right.
And so, kudos to you as well. I appreciate you, and I thank you just for the wisdom and the knowledge that you've given me, and just the listening ear that you've given me, and the respect that you give me.
And one of the things I've always said to you, and I'll say it again, freely I give. I have, and I told my son this. I've always said this to my son. I have nothing to hide. My life is transparent to him. When he's around me, he's in my home, when we're together, I'm very transparent. I have nothing to hide. And doesn't it feel good, Stephen, to live that kind of a lifestyle where we don't have to hide and about what you're going to see. And when I go to his place, I got a key. The brother I got a key to his house. He has a key in my house. And so we have nothing to hide. When
it's just easy. It makes life easy when you don't when you're not hiding, or when you're not trying to just live a double life. Just
absolutely, man. That's good.
Live what you say. It's easy. Live what you say.
Just be who you are, right?
Be who
Check this
you are. I
out.
mean,
This is
that's so simple.
Colossians 4:6 says this. It says, check this out. Let your conversation be always full of grace. Oh my goodness. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. See, in good communication, it's not just for Stephen, it's about whomever comes into my space, man, into my life. If I'm in, again, I said it earlier, if I'm in the mall, if I'm in the store, if I'm at the, it doesn't matter. We've got to know that people, listen, there are people that will know who you are or know who I am that we have no clue who they are. But because we are prominent people, sometimes, so when I say that, I'm talking about in ministry, that people will know who we are. We don't have a clue who they are. So my mother used to tell me that always watch where you're going and know where you're at. But I'm grateful that we can get to a point in life where we don't have to look over our shoulders anymore, like you said, to see who's watching. Just live that lifestyle. That's what you just said. Just live a lifestyle that's first of all pleasing to God and then pleasing to one another. I don't want anybody to call me and say, man, I saw your son and he was ABCD. No, I don't want that as a father either. And so I've always cautioned my children, be mindful. You heard him talk about earlier, be mindful of what you do with my name. My name, man, listen, I've worked hard for my name. So whatever you do, don't mess up my name. We're going to have to get out of here in a little bit. I want to leave something else real quick, and I'm trying to find it. I had notes, man, and we didn't get all the way off my notes, but it's all good. But I do want to say this. Your mindset control your assets. How about that? Your mindset controls your assets. So it's so a man think it and so a man speak it. Not only think it, but what comes. I think it says sometimes it's not always what goes in a man that's an issue. It's what comes out.
Yeah.
And we have to be mindful of our conversations and even to one another. And respect goes both ways. I said that earlier. We have to make sure that we are respecting one another, that we're not crossing boundaries. My son, Stephen has teenage, and they're going into the teenage years. And so as his father, I never interfere with him raising his children. I let him raise his children. But now I will give him nuggets, right, on how to effectively raise his children. He might come to me with a question. So I never give solutions. I always give nuggets to make solutions and to give them the opportunity to make their own choice. That way he can never come back to me and say, well, you said, Dad, to do A, B, C, D. No, so I give him nuggets to make his own decision about it. And
you
we
get
had
it off you, huh?
I get it off of me, and we had that conversation the other day. You came to me about a situation, and I'm like, hey, man, listen, only thing I can share with you is consider A, B, C, D. Consider this, think about this, process this, and I trust you that you're going to make a great decision. And that's
what
why
you told me, I mean, it worked perfectly. I used the advice that you gave me and what you told me. And I mean, it worked perfectly. So that's why I know I can come to you and get these things because I know it works.
And that's how we build trust. That's how we build trust. Someone asked that earlier. How do you build that trust? How do you build that trust? And so listen, to whomever is listening right now, always know that you can be an effective communicator. Always know that, sometimes before we answer, always maybe inhale and exhale, and always ponder before you give an answer, and I'm learning to do that more and more and more. Even if Stephen comes to me or whomever comes to me with a question, listen, if I don't have the answer, I'll be the first one to say, you know what? Let me ponder on that. Let me get back with you. I don't have the answer. Let me think about it. Let me research it, and I will give you the answer. And it's okay to do that, because I don't have all the answers. Jesus is the answer. But I can find the answer, and I'll always do that. I always say to my children and to whomever that comes to me, I'm like, hey, I don't really know the answer to that, and I'll be the first one to acknowledge that. But let me ponder on it, or let me do some research, and then I'll get back with you, and we'll see what the answer is. So, give some final nuggets, Steve, on good on effective communication. If I had to give you to say a final nugget on effective communicating, what would it be?
Well, you just said it not too long ago. Just respect. I think if you respect the person you're communicating with, whether you agree or disagree, you can still disagree respectfully. So it's
Sure,
all about
sure.
respect. I don't have to agree with everything you say or everything you do, but as long as I respect your opinion and you respect mine, well, then there's no problem, there's no issue. We can still communicate and carry out what we need to do. Just as far as in the workplace, just respect. It goes a long way with communication. If I don't respect you, I'm gonna talk to you any kind of way, right? And if you don't
Oh my
respect me,
goodness,
you're
man,
gonna
that's
talk to me
good.
any kind of way. And I also
Woo, that
think
is
one last little
so
nugget. I also think we have to teach people how to communicate with us. And when I say teach people,
right. Some people don't know how
meaning
to do that. Yeah.
right. And when I say teach, just say if somebody was to come to you the wrong way, if you
Right.
let it continue, where you teaching them that that's okay to talk to you that way. But if you
Woo, you
stop it and
preaching,
put them
boy.
in check the
You're
first time, you teaching them that that's not okay to
good.
talk to me like that. So either way you go, you have to teach people, how
Ooh,
to treat you and
boy.
how to communicate to you. So that's my final nugget.
Man, did y'all hear that? That is so good. I love that. Teach people how you want to be communicated with.
You have
And
to.
that is so important, man, that we don't let people come to us any kind of way. Now listen, but at the same time, as an effective communicator, we have to use integrity and character. Say, hey, whoa, time out. I won't tolerate being spoken to like that. Let's start this conversation over again and see if we can, resolve this in a better effective manner. But you hollering, you cussing, you coming at me, that's not
It's not gonna
acceptable
work.
in
Right.
in
It's
in,
not
in my
acceptable.
in my world. I will never come at you that way, and so I don't expect you to come at me that way. And that's something that I've never done with my children. I mean, I've never cussed at my children. I've never came at them yelling and screaming and beating my chest, man. And when I catch myself, I will be the first one to go back and apologize. Say, you know what? I didn't handle that correctly, man. Let's start over again. Let's talk about this. What did you want to come to me and talk to me about? Let's start over. Let's. And so I'm still that way now. And y'all heard me talk about this, and I'll say this statement. Sometimes submission has to begin where agreement ends. And that just
Mhm.
simply means, as a father and son, I'm the father, I'm the older, and so if we're having a conversation and we cannot come into an agreement, I've watched my son, over these years say, you know what, okay, dad, man, it's good, it's cool. I hear what you're saying, so I'm good. I'll take your advice and we'll move on. That's it, Christina. Set boundaries. You have to set boundaries with people, and Steve said that you can't let people just come to you any kind of way. And listen, parents and people in authority. I don't know. I don't care who you are. You cannot talk to people any kind of way, and it's
Exactly.
okay. It is not okay to do that. You have to be respectful to people, even when they are being disrespectful. And especially when we're in covenant. Oh my God, Stephen and I, we're in covenant together. He's my son. That's a covenant. So I teach my children, don't be disrespectful in covenant. I teach them to don't be, even with their children, don't call your children names. Don't stupid okay, do not, because don't be surprised then when that child becomes what you have declared out of your mouth for him to be. But you can frame his world by telling him he's intelligent, he's powerful, he's awesome, he's that. My son said it earlier, man, the influence, and I didn't know, sometimes I didn't even know the influence I was having on his life by just pouring into him and telling him how proud I was of him and what he was going to become and what he was going to be. I didn't even know sometimes that I was framing his world, and we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to have the wife on one time soon. We're going to talk about how women can frame men's world. That is going to be so good.
Yeah.
You can tell
That's a
them
good
who they're going to
conversation.
become. Yeah, you can frame them. You can tell them, hey, man, you're going to be awesome. I just believe God is going to raise you up. You're going to be a general. You're going to be, man, we can frame people's world just by our words. So that's why it has to be effective communication. Man, this has been
If
good.
you if
Stephen,
you
thank
talk
you
to me
so
if
much.
you talk to me in the right way, you can almost get me to do anything you want me to.
Absolutely. I can absolutely.
If you talk to me right and you use the
I
right
get it. I
words,
get what I need. Well,
yeah,
y'all remember he
I'll
just
do
said
anything you
that,
say.
right? Remember he said that because I'm coming for your bank account next. I'm coming for the bank account, baby. But listen, Stephen,
You can
I
have it.
love you. I'm proud of you. Continue to move forward in the things of God, man. Continue to be that godliness wherever you go, man. In season, out of season. There's a mantle on your life. I know you know that. We've talked about that. I
Yeah.
told my son that I will give him my mantle. I told him the difference between him and I is I didn't have me, but he has his father to give him whatever I have. And whatever I own, whatever I have, man, spiritually, physically, it belongs to you, sir. I freely give to you. I want to leave everybody with this last little nugget, and then we're going to get up out of here. I've got to share this last little nugget with you as we get ready to leave. Thank you guys so much. You can follow me on my Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Steve Sims. Follow me there, and leave nuggets. Leave me what any kind of conversation you want to have. We can respond to that. But check this out as I leave this nugget for you. Good communication simply is lead. Make sure that we lead and inspire people. Don't try to manage and manipulate people. Inventory can be managed, but people must be led. I said
That's good.
inventory is managed, but people are led. So when you talk to people and you're effectively communicating with people, do it to inspire somebody. Who have you inspired today? Make sure that before the week is over, that you're inspiring somebody, that you're encouraging somebody through your effective communication. Don't try to manage and don't try to manipulate people. I had a good friend of mine years ago by the name of Mark, and Mark taught me this. Man, like you just said, you can have people will do whatever you want if you will just pour into them, respect them, love them, and tell them how great they are. People will do anything for you if you do it that way. But listen, if you come at people the wrong way, they might still follow you, but I promise you it will be limited. You will only get what they want to give. They will not go the extra mile. Even your children, they will not go the extra mile. They will only give. Husbands, they will not. Wives, you have to be effective communicators. You got to know how to effectively communicate with one another so that we can reach the goal, so that we can reach the prize of what God is calling us to. So again, great evening. Thank you guys for being on tonight and for listening. I am Pastor Steve. This is Under Construction. We are getting ready to end on this last nugget again. Your mindset control your assets. Give yourself a hand for being on tonight. Till we meet again. Peace. Happy Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's to everybody. Love you. Thank you for joining us. Alan, get us out of here tonight, baby.